Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Writing a Trope Christmas Movie Style Story. My name is Hannah, and today we are going to talk about settings and events. If you have your handouts, we are on page 7 today. So I'm going to talk about the setting and the events. So let's talk about setting. But before we do, this is a good time to remind you that you don't have to write a Christmas story. You don't have to use Christmas as your holiday. You can use Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, or something else. All you need to do is create different events to fit in with that story. And I will show you at the end of this how to do that. But in your handouts, all the suggestions are for Christmas. So no worries if you want to do something different, but my suggestions come from Christmas, okay? All right, so remember that we are still brainstorming. It is okay to change your mind if you have another idea. As we kind of go through this, maybe you've already filled out your characters sheets, but then you have an idea that you need this certain event, and so your character needs to be different so that they can plan that event or something. That's fine. You can change things. We're still brainstorming. No worries. Okay, so let's talk about the setting. The setting is a place, and you probably already have a pretty good idea of the setting. So we're going to focus on two places in the story. The big city, so you probably have already picked that for your character. Your protagonist A lives in the big city. Okay, and then in the big city, they usually show two places. Those two places in the big city are the protagonist's workplace, like an office building, and then maybe the protagonist's apartment. Okay, and again, we want to make protagonist A and protagonist B opposites. So protagonist B is going to have a really homey house that's all decorated for Christmas. Protagonist A is going to have a very small apartment in a big city. Usually if you live in the big city, you live in a small apartment there. Not always though, but that's kind of the idea. Okay, then the small town, so you've picked the name of your town, right? And some places in the small town. So there's going to be more of that because most of the action happens in the small town. So think of some places in the small town. I'm going to give you some examples. You can come up with your own. And again, this is going to be a very simple story. You don't want to have too many places, it could make, we don't want to make a 2-hour movie here. We're just making a very short story using an outline. So don't worry if you don't have very many, anyway, here are some options. You could talk about the protagonist's work. That definitely probably should show up somewhere. Usually it's a small shop, like a bookstore or something like that. Okay, protagonist A's house, or maybe it's protagonist A's parents' house, but it's usually a big all Christmassy decorated house. Okay, and then here are some options: coffee shop, gazebo. I don't know why, but lots of places in these stories have gazebos. A Christmas tree farm might be another place they go. A castle. If you have a royal story, there's probably a castle somewhere in the story. A town square. Okay. Also, I want to say with the castle, if you're doing a royal story, my daughter brought up a good point the other day. We saw a commercial for a royal story on Hallmark, and she said, I wonder how many princes there are in the world. And she did some research, and she found out that there are only 44 countries in the whole world that have a monarch, and only 29 there's only 29 monarchs because Queen Elizabeth is monarch over several different countries. So there can't be that many princes. I mean, I know that sometimes there's several generations of princes and, brothers and sisters and cousins and things, but there can't be that many. But we tell a lot of those stories. Okay, you could always add your own for a setting as well. Okay, and then events. Now, there's a major event and then several minor events. And again, this is how you will, if you're telling a Christmas story, then you're going to have Christmassy events. If you're telling a Thanksgiving story, you're going to have Thanksgiving events. In your worksheet, I only do Christmas events, but I'm going to give you some examples of some Thanksgiving events if you want to change things up. Okay, so first we need to know, how did the protagonists meet? So here are some options. They could be an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. If that's the case, then protagonist A is going to their hometown for some crisis that their family is facing. But that is a possibility. They could already know each other, but they don't talk anymore. For some reason, somebody spilling coffee or hot chocolate on the other person happens a lot. I don't think anyone has ever spilled coffee on me before, but it happens a lot in these movies. Or protagonist A is going to destroy protagonist B's business. That's a very common one. Car trouble. So maybe protagonist A isn't really trying to stop in this small town, but maybe his or her car breaks down in this place and then ends up spending Christmas in that small town while the car is getting fixed. Okay. And then maybe they met through a family member. So if protagonist A is going back to help the family and she's staying with her aunt says, "Oh, you got to meet Henry," or whatever. Okay. And then we need to know why they are fighting at the beginning. They need to be fighting at the beginning about something. It's not too hard to come up with a reason why they're fighting, because they are opposites. So they're going to think differently about everything. Okay. So come up with a reason why they're fighting. So on your paper, I have all of these listed out for you, and you can just check or fill in the circle or circle the whole thing or underline or whatever. And again, you don't have to use my examples. You can come up with something else, but these are some pretty normal ones that happen a lot in these stories. Okay. All right. And then for the major event for Christmas, a major event could be something that the protagonists are working together to plan. So choose from one of these or make up something. There could be a Christmas fair. Again, I have never been to a outdoor Christmas fair. But in these movies, there's rides and things. I think that would be really cold to be on a ride in the winter, but okay, Christmas Eve party is really popular. I've never been to a Christmas Eve party. My family always goes to a Christmas Eve service at church, but we never go to a party. We always spend our time just with our family. But I guess in these stories, lots of people go to Christmas Eve parties. A charity event. So then what are they trying to help? What cause are they trying to raise money for? Or a Christmas ball. That's also very popular. Where everybody dresses up. Okay, you can write your own, so you could come up with something else. And it's helpful to think about what you do for Christmas or for whatever holiday you're writing about. That's kind of how I come up with other things. Okay, and then why do they have to work together? It's good to figure out a reason why they're working together, because since they're arguing, they wouldn't naturally want to. So you have to come up with some reason why they have to work together. So I think that's maybe the most difficult thing to figure out in these stories, is why are they working together? They must both have skills that they need to make this happen. Okay. All right. And then for minor events, remember, it's just simple things like drinking hot chocolate together. Okay. But they do several holiday activities together. So choose 4 of these or write your own. And these, again, I focused on Christmas. So they could build a snowman. They could make a gingerbread house, bake and decorate cookies, shop for presents, caroling, Christmas tree farms, decorate the tree, drink hot chocolate, snowball fight. You get the idea. I actually have more on your handout than I do in this, because there's so many that I didn't have room for all of them. Okay. Wrap presents. So you get the idea. All right. Now, let's say instead of writing a Christmas, you want to do something else. So maybe your family celebrates Hanukkah. So then you would think of things that you do for Hanukkah. So you would definitely want a menorah. You definitely want candles. Maybe have a time where you're making specific food that you eat at Hanukkah, or shop for presents, things like that. Okay. So I have an example for a Thanksgiving story. So in my town, they have a turkey 5K. So they run and raise money for a cause, and they, run a 5K on Thanksgiving Day. So maybe that's the major event that you're planning, or a Thanksgiving dance, or a food kitchen dinner. Maybe they're working for a big food kitchen. So you have to figure out why they want to work together and come up with some big event. Now you may have something different than this, but these are just some ideas. Again, this isn't in your handout, but if you're writing a Thanksgiving story, this is the process that you use to do that. And there's a little turkey. Okay. Or now let's do the minor events. So I thought of a pumpkin catapult. Again, this is not something I've ever done, but I've seen people do this, where they build a big like trebuchet catapult thing, and they put a pumpkin in it, and then they, just let it go. So I don't know why people do that, but it sounds fun. So maybe that's a minor event. Or make pumpkin pie. I always make my grandma's noodles for Thanksgiving, so maybe that could be something that the protagonists could do together. Go to the pumpkin patch. I don't know. Usually pumpkin patches close before Thanksgiving, but maybe this one doesn't. A hayride is something that you do in the fall. A turkey call contest. Again, I've never seen anybody actually do that, but except for on TV. But, that would be fun. Okay, so that's all I have for you today, guys. I will talk to you next time.